So because we did the odds with the other class, we're going to go ahead and do the evens. All right? So again, if you'll notice here that I have 5 over radical 6. All right? So again, I'm not allowed to have a radical in the denominator. So I have to change it from an irrational to a rational. All right? Yes, sir. All right, so what you're doing is you are eliminating it by multiplying it by radical 6. Now, why do we multiply by radical 6? Because the radical 6 times 6 becomes what? 6. And now you do not have an irrational number in the denominator. All right, but if you multiply the denominator by the square root of 6, you have to multiply the what? The numerator by the square root of 6. All right, so now you have 5 radical 6. All right, so that is the explanation for how to rationalize a denominator.
So that's all we do?
All right, question number 4. All right, I have a square root of 7 on the bottom, so now I'm just going to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 7. All right, and you will see when I do that, I end up with 21 radical 7 over 7. However, this time, I can reduce the fraction now. All right, the 21 and the 7 reduced to,
3 radical 7.
that just becomes 3 radical 7. All right. Now, again, all right, very straightforward. Very straightforward. Let's take a look now at question number 6. First of all, can I just go ahead and cross these out? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Of course not. All right, the reason why you can't is because you're bounded by addition and subtraction. So let me explain again, just in case you forgot. If I said 4 plus 6 divided by 6, does that equal 5?
No.
Of course it does not. All right, you cannot cross out bounded by addition and subtraction. If I said this, however, all right, if I said all 3 of those numbers are divisible by 2, I then could write 2 plus 3 divided by 3. Somebody with me on this? All right, so if you're going to reduce through addition and subtraction, you have to reduce all of the terms. All right, not just one of the terms. All right, so in this case, I cannot just simply cross out the radical 6. So I must multiply the top and bottom by radical 6. And when I do that from last week's test, you should be able to clearly say that that is just 5 radical 6 plus 6 over 6. Now, can I just cross out the 6's? No. Again, I'm bounded by addition and subtraction. All right? If it's multiplication, could I cross them out? Yes. But you're not crossing out or you're not reducing through addition and subtraction. All right, is everybody with me on that? Does everybody agree? Simple. All right, now let's move forward with number 8. All right, so now all I have to do is multiply the top and bottom by radical 13. And when I do that, I end up with, there you have it. All right, very easy. 7 radical 13 plus 13 all over 13. All right. Let's take a look now at question 10. All right. Multiply the top and bottom by
Radical 6.
radical 6.
6.
So when I do that, now again, remember I'm trying to show you how you should be thinking about numbers. All right. 3 radical 6 times radical 6, you should be able to look at pretty confidently and just say that is 18. All right, how do I know that? Because the square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is what?
6.
Is 6.
And then 3 times 6.
And then 3 times 6 is 18. All right, so again, what I normally do is I normally tell kids you should put parentheses around it right here. And then you know you're distributing a square root of 6. All right, so once you do that times that, you now have to do the square root of 6 times 5. And what's the square root of 6 times 5?
Square root of
Square root of
30.
30. It is, in fact, the square root of 30. All right? All over what?
Under 6.
There you go.
Oh, but yeah,
Now, again, the reason we cannot reduce is first and foremost, this 6 is considered rational. This radical 30 is irrational. You're not dividing 30 by 6. You could divide the 18 and the 6 if there was some multiple of 6 on this side. All right, then you could reduce. But because there is not a common factor, you cannot reduce. Everybody good with that? All right, so let's take a look now at 12. All right, before we do 12, you should always try to do what to the radical?
Simplify.
Simplify it. All right, that's the easiest way to do that. So I'm going to rewrite this as 9 over what? 3 radical 2. Everybody agreeing with that? And then what happens to the 9 and the 3? They can reduce now. All right, because there is no addition or subtraction. So I can reduce that now to 3 over radical 2. And now from there, I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by radical 2. So I end up with 3 radical 2 over 2.
That was intense.
All right. Everybody okay with that? Remember, better now ask me than wait till we go down to 3 or 4 more problems. Anybody have any questions with that? Always simplifying.
I didn't really understand number 10 that well.
What are you having troubles with?
How you got the numerator?
Square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is what?
The square root of 36.
And what is that?
Oh, 6. Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
Good. All right. Again, remember what I'm trying to tell you, remind you of when you multiply radicals, if it's the same number, it's just that number. All right? I don't want you to say square root of 6 times square root of 6 is square root of 36. I want you to say the square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is 6.
What is the square? What would the square root of 7 divided by? Would that be 1 if it was the square root of 7 divided by the square root of 7?
Anything divided by itself is, except for,
0.
yes, very good. All right, so on 14, 45, we have to break down to 3 radical 5. So let's rewrite this as 6 over 3 radical 5. And then we reduce to 2 over radical 5.
You guys are on top.
Thank you. 2 radical 5 over 5. Any issues or concerns with that? Very similar. All right. So let's take a look now at 16 again. We should just go ahead and reduce. So we end up with 2 over 3 radical 3. And now I multiply the top and bottom by what? Radical 3. So my final answer is
Yay! That's fun.
it's not bad.
Extra
Not bad at all.
Mr. Stroud, these boxes are huge.
What's that?
The boxes that we do the work
Or what?
in, they're huge compared to the work that we
Yeah, I'm wasting. What am I wasting?
fake
Fake paper. Yeah, I knew that would upset you. All right, here we go. Now, the reason why I have extra practice here is because, honestly, listen carefully. All right? The reason why I have extra practice here for you guys is this, is I thought the grades would have been better. All right? So I didn't put as many of the rationalizing stuff because I thought it was easy, but we should be able to zip through these pretty quickly. All right? Again, a lot of people had trouble with problems like 18. So come on now, look up here and make sure you can look at that and just say the answer is what? No. 14. Good. The answer is 14. Now I'm telling you, look up there right now. You're trying to listen to what I'm saying. How do I know what's the square root of 7 times the square root of 7? 7. What's the square root of 4? 2 times 7. 14. You're not multiplying everything together. All right? You're not multiplying everything together. That's a waste of time. You take them out in groups of 2. All right, you take them out in groups of 2. All right, now for 20, you're just reducing the fraction. 12 and 4 reduces to what? 3. And then you say the square root of 20 divided by the square root of 5 is square root of 4. But instead of writing the square root of 4, you're just going to write what? Times 2.
6.
Which is today 6.
Like yesterday.
All right. Any questions?
Can you just?
All right. 22. Here we go. 3 radical 7 minus what? 10 radical 7. Now again, if you're not sure, speak up. Final answer. Negative 7 radical 7. What? Shh.
So when I did it, I got 3 on the top and 2 on the bottom.
Okay, so what am I supposed to say to that? Remember? What do you think? Shh, put your hands down, boys. Let me help him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right? And again, let's remember now, that's okay. All right? What? Oh, I thought it was minus. That really should have been, right? So again, I made a mistake on that. All right. What we do is actually, because I made a mistake, we can just clean it up easily by doing what? That.
What?
All right.
Cheat the system.
So here we go.
So are you saying if we read a
That was the
problem
question.
on
3
the
radical
SAT?
7 minus 5 radical 28.
So are you saying if we read
Yes.
a problem wrong on the SAT, we can just change it?
We just white it out, you know?
Yeah.
Just white it out.
Just bring it right out.
Good idea.
Thanks for the
Yeah,
tip.
just
All
write
right.
out the whole test.
Now, if you don't like that, all right, if we go back to the way it was, 3 radical 7 times negative 5 radical 28. All right, if you were to do that problem, the way it was written, all right, it would simply be, look, 3 times negative 5, which is what? Negative 15. Now, you see a 7 here and you see a 7 there. So there comes out as a what? 7. Then there is a 4 here left behind. Square root of 4 is what? 2. All right, so if you multiply all that together, the real answer is negative 210.
I would have gotten that totally
All
wrong.
right, negative 210. So again, double check that again. 28 you can break down to 4 times 7. Then you see 2 7s, which comes out of this as a 7. And then the square root of 4 is 2. All right, anybody have any questions with that? All right, any questions? All right. So 24, here we go. 6 radical 5 minus 4 radical 5 plus 5 radical 5 is
3 radical.
3 radical 5. Yeah, kind of like, come on, man. You can listen to yourself tonight. At the, what minute mark? 13-minute mark. All right. Anybody have any questions with 24?
I think the 13.
All right. 26. Here we go. Square root of 28.
8.
Good. So that comes out as 8 radical 7. Now I know some of you forgot 112 is 16 times 7.
Oh, yeah.
But look, the point I'm trying to make is this. If you forgot, there is a 7 over here. So the first thing come to mind should be what? I'm going to try to divide that by 7 to see what happens. If you divide that by 7, you get 16. All right, so that's how you use the radicals to help you if you forgot something. All right, so that comes out as a
32 radicals. Oh, sorry, 24 radicals.
24 radical 7.
And then the answer is 32 radicals.
All right. And so now we have 32 radical 7.
Sorry.
All right. Now, look at 28. Again, 242 is kind of tricky unless you think about it and you see 2 goes in 121. And most of you know the square root of 121 is what? 11. All right. So this should be 11 radical 2. And then the next one. 363 is 3 times 121. Is everybody okay with that? 363 is 3 times 121. Does everybody agree? So then it would be minus 33 radical 3. Is there anything I can do with that?
No.
No, that's your answer. 11 radical 2 minus 33 radical 3. Any questions? All right. So with 30, we just do what?
Multiply the top and bottom by
So you're
radical 7 over 7.
2 radical 7 over 7. 32. Should be able to quickly do these. 63 is, so that comes out as 9 radical 7 plus 4 radical 7. How many quarters makes $1.75? So that would be 5 radical 7. Is everybody good with that?
13 minus 5 is
Thank you. 8 radical 7.
How long?
8 radical 7.
I'm not even
All right.
gonna question.
So here we go, 34. All right. Now again, don't forget on these, looks a little more complicated, but not really. Square root of 6 times square root of 6 is 6. Now, smiley face would be negative radical 30. And then this would be positive radical 30. And then minus 5. Any questions? Come on, guys, concentrate. All right, any questions with that? All right, so my final answer, because these cancel, is a 1.
Amazing.
All right, anybody have any issues? All right, now on 36, be careful. You're just going 4 plus 2 radical 5 times 4 plus 2 radical 5. So this would be 16 plus 8 radical 5 plus 8 radical 5 plus 20. Anybody agree with that?
Yep.
So combining terms, I end up with what? 36 plus 16 radical 5. What? 20, because, look, very important now. 2 times 2 is what? Square root of 5 times square root of 5. 4 times 5. Right?
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
the most complex thing you've ever learned in math.
There's lots of complex things.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear it right now because it's
Here we go. 38.
Stop.
All right. You're reducing the fraction. So here we go. 7 over radical 7 to start out with.
7 radical 7 over 7. Which
So now we multiply.
7.
that with just 7 on the
Now, again, they reduce. Yes, crossing out the 7s. Again, because it's all multiplication, you can reduce through multiplication.
Heck
You
yeah.
cannot reduce through addition and subtraction. All right, so now, last one here. All right, now again, I really want you to kind of recognize where there's common factors. All right, so look real quick. 3. Then there's a 5 in 75, correct?
Yes.
So that comes out as a 5, right? And then if you pull a 5 out, what's left behind?
3.
5 out of 75 is 3?
You get
Yeah.
15.
Oh.
15. There you go. Come on, listen. That's how I would like for you to see it. Now, for those of you guys who broke down 75, I don't have a problem with that. All right, but I think it's easier if you look at it and say there's a 5 here and a 5 in there. So I pull out the 5 and 15's left behind. So right now you're left with 15 radical 15. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to multiply 3 radical 15, or 3 radical 5 times 2 radical 12. Now there isn't a common 5, correct?
But there is a
But-
common 3.
There is a 4. All right,
oh,
and
wait.
12. Just listen. All right? So the square root of 4, all right,
That was
is
not my
2. And there's a 3 out there already, so it would be 6. And then because you pulled out this 4, there's a 3 left behind. So I'm doing the 3 times the 5, which is what?
15.
15. All right?
How did you get the 6? Again,
What's the square root of 4?
square root of 4 is 2.
2 times 3.
2 times 3 is 6.
That's where I got it from. Do you see it yet?
What about the name?
Shh.
Yeah, what about
I'm asking you yet. Do you see the 6 or not?
Yes. It's
All
just,
right.
I don't know if I can be able to do all.
With the proper practice, you can do anything. Go.
What about the
about
negative
Shh.
Yeah.
You mean, what did I do with this?
2? Yeah.
Okay, well, that was multiplied by that. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. So, here is what I said. Oh, yes. So it shouldn't be 6. It should be a what? Thank you. It should be 12. Sorry about that. That is a 12.
2 mistakes in 1 day.
Yes.
That's a
okay,
12.
But now I've understood
Right,
it in
that was
the other
good.
way.
All right, so let's just
review.
review real quick since I blew that. Here we go. So first and foremost, it was the 3 times 2, which gave me the 6. Then the 12 is 4 times 3. So the square root of 4 became a what? 2. So there was a 6 already out there. That's why the 6 times 2 became the 12. All right? And then the 3 times the 5 became the 15. All right? So now 12 radical 15, or 15 radical 15 minus 12 radical 15 is what? 3 radical 15. All right. Listen now, anybody have a question with that? All right, is there another one, or is that it? Okay, so now, obviously your job now is to go back and take a look at the odds. It's really not difficult. I think most of you should be done by the time you leave here, but get to work.
Wait, finish
All right.
the odds. Along with extra practice.
Yes.
Okay.
Odd